Hey guys, my name is Akshita. I'm a data analyst and a travel enthusiast.
I'm Anagh. I'm a finance bro and a tech geek. And you're listening to The Why Quadrant, the weekly podcast where we discuss the why behind human society and behavior.
Lessons from pop culture and our own experiences to lead a more intentional, efficient, and happy life. Hi Anag, how are you?
Hi Akshita, I've been good. How are you?
I've been fine. How's your week been, dude? I mean, I've had a very busy week yet again.
Nice. My week has been pretty busy, but uh, I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning this week. So I found all
Oh
these
wow.
old clothes of mine which never fit me really well, and now they like loose for me. So that's always a
Hey,
really
all an
nice
exercise is
feeling.
working.
Yeah. There was this one T-shirt in particular. It was like a Joker from Batman vintage, like that vintage comic kind of design. And I bought that in
Hmm.
2007 or 2008, and it didn't fit me then. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll lose some weight and I'll wear it. And then since then it's 2021, and I could not fit into it for so many years. So now I
Oh
can. So that was
wow.
nice. So that's like
Yeah,
my
I think I
highlight.
do the opposite sometimes. I sometimes buy clothes which are smaller as motivation, saying that, hey, I need to fit into this, so I need to work out, but then they never fitting, so it's just somewhere kept in the back of my closet.
Fair enough. And we have a guest on our podcast. The first time we have a guest. Akshita, would you like to introduce her?
Yes. So today we have Aishwarya Sengar, also like to be called Ash.
In fact, she doesn't like to be called Aishwarya.
Yeah,
Don't
she
call her
doesn't like to
Aishwarya.
be called Aishwarya. Yeah, Ash is the way to go, guys.
Yeah.
So we have Ash here. She is going to be our fellow classmate. I'm not really sure how to call it, but yes, we are going to hopefully all fingers crossed be
Being-
studying together. So Ash, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Ash, and as Akshara and Anag mentioned, I don't like being called Aishwarya. So, I basically grew up in three different countries and nine different cities, and I got to meet a whole bunch of people and a very diverse set of people since I was very young. I also used to watch a lot of travel shows and cooking shows when I was in middle school, which basically inspired me and sort of took me to my love of food and baking. And I'm also a self-taught baker. I also have like a website or blog. It's called Mochi and Matcha. When it comes to my education, I did a bachelor's in business administration with a specialization in finance. And I am starting my MBA this year with Akshita and Anag. Hopefully, the student permit comes just in time. Currently, I work for a life insurance company in their product development team. So, if y'all ever have any questions about life insurance, please come to me. I would love to educate you guys about it.
I think life insurance is such a. I honestly have absolutely no idea about it at all. And yeah, oh, yes, she has one of the best Instagram pages for baking. I mean, I'm looking forward. Half of the things I'm looking forward to going forward is going to be this for sure. So let's get started. Our topic for today is something very, when you said life insurance, the first thing that came into my mind is, oh, life. And, what do you think of life and everything? So the question and the topic for today is why do people or why do we all suffer from the term called as existential crisis? Anag, let's, you are the adult.
I'm the
I'm
adult.
sure you know better. Yeah.
I go through six different existential crises on a daily basis. So I think I'm quite the expert on that.
For
um,
sure.
yeah, but again, existential crisis can also lead to anxiety, depression, and more serious mental health issues. If you are suffering from that, then don't listen to you can listen to us, but then don't take all of this as sort of medical
Yes,
advice. You should go
please.
see a certified professional. But for most of us, we do suffer through all of this at some level, and it's always good to hear about other people suffering through it. So it makes you feel less alone, and in some sort of twisted way, it makes you feel nice about your situation. Maybe that'll happen. Okay, so what? So what is existential crisis? Like, why? What triggers it, or what do you, you know? what exactly is it, Akshita?
So, I mean, if you look at, so I, before this entire conversation, I was Googling, existential crisis, and it came out very medical and very health specific. But what
Hmm.
we right now, nowadays, talk about existential crisis as is just feeling maybe lost or confused, or just what are we doing in life? Basically, this exact question, what are we doing in life? Where are we? Why are we doing the things we are doing? And when this question starts coming up, I wouldn't say haunting you, but starts coming up into your head quite a few times, and you get very overwhelmed by these questions. I think that's what I personally believe an existential crisis to be. You're basically just questioning your existence, and that's exactly the term for it. So that's my take on it. Ash, would you like to add something?
Yeah, that's basically what you said. You get so overwhelmed that you don't even know what your purpose in life is, or how you even got here, why you're even here. So yeah, definitely. Like every single day I have the same thought. It's like, how are we here? How are we possibly at this point in time? Like there had to be so many coincidences to have taken place at the like perfect moment for us to like be in this exact moment.
True, very true. And then going forward also, in 2021, in the 21st century, we live in a society where there's abundance of choice, maybe as opposed to 300, 400 years ago, where there's not a lot of interaction with the outside world. You were limited to the small society you were part of, and basically whatever occupation and source of leisure and entertainment was there. Now, because of the internet and everything else, globalization, you have so many things you can do. And with that comes the paradox of choice, where you basically always feel that the decision you're making is incorrect, and maybe something better would have been out there. uh, in all respects, whether it is career decision, friendships, how you choose to spend your time, relationships. All of these dating apps now make you feel that next person around the corner might be better, and that sort of thing. So yeah, existential crisis is very, very real in 2021. Do you
And I
guys?
think inevitable. I mean, real and inevitable, because it's right. It's just so much going on in the world, and as you said very rightly, at any point in life, you always might feel that, hey, there's something else that could have been a better thing, and it's just not avoidable. At least that's what I feel.
Ash, have you like? Could you give examples of when, like, what are the triggers or moments where you felt really, really crisis? I don't even know what the right verb
Crisis.
to use is.
Insignificant maybe.
It's-
Yes. So my majority of my existential crisis is basically based on space. Like space is ever expanding, it does not stop, it's so huge, and we are like this little insignificant little blip in like one small little place in space, which is absolutely crazy. Like there are so many other things out there that we don't even know of, and it honestly blows my mind. Like I will go through a phase where I'm just watching all of these like documentaries about space, and I'm just like panicking in my head. I'm panicking, but I'm still watching everything because it's so interesting. Like I don't even have words to describe how it
Yeah,
feels.
I think overwhelming is exactly like the word to be used in such situations, because as you said, the just vastness of the world, not even the world, as you said, space and
Mhm.
universe, that makes you feel like, okay, we're just literally specks floating around somewhere, and we have
Exactly.
our own lives, and we have so much going on in our own selves, but when you look at it in the whole picture, we're just tiny little things. And yeah, I think that makes you feel um should I mean, if I was thinking about it that way, I'd just be like, why am I worrying so much about myself, and maybe we're just one speck in just the entire universe.
Billions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
billions of specks floating around. I think, yeah, I mean, that's a very good outlook on it, because I hadn't really thought of it that way. For me, an existential crisis is generally just about, as you said, the past, or how many different coincidences would have happened to like help me, or just that have made me reach here at this point of life, and the future as well. What are the things I can do? What are the things I'm doing why am I not doing something else? Just all of these questions. But what you just said is a very different take on it, and I think that's super cool because that just shows you how people perceive existential crises. I'm sorry, I do not know the plural form
Crises.
of that.
Even
Crises.
I'm
Crises.
not
Yeah,
sure.
it's quite the tongue twister. Yeah, and
Correct.
I mean, there's a phrase or there's a metaphor for this, and it's honestly quite. I don't like it because it goes against the growth mindset. But what it says is that you're basically a dog tied to a cart that's moving, and you can either choose to run with it or get dragged by it. And this comes from the perspective of, okay, you've been put, like Ash mentioned, that all these coincidences happen and you end up in a certain place in the world, in a certain part of socioeconomic part of the society, and there's only so much you can do with it. So that, from that perspective, also from like finding meaning and doing something meaningful, it's and when people start, like, I feel up until a certain age you go through the minutia of like day-to-day life. You go to school and then you go to university, and like you can always see a few years down the line in terms of what your life is going to be like, and that's when you don't think too much about all of this. It's when you hit a certain age, and it varies for different people. Like, for example, Elon Musk had his, it's called the dark night of the soul or something like that, when you suffer from existential crisis for the first time. So Elon Musk suffered from that in his teenage years. Others like me, lesser mortals, started suffering once they got like done with everything you have to do and then started a job. So so when that happens, then you don't know what to do. Like, you've ticked all the boxes that the society asks you to do. Go to school, get a job, and then what? Is that it? Like, are you going to just follow the exact same pattern everyone else does? And then
Exactly.
these
The
these
moment you
these
said it,
questions
like,
haunt us. Yeah.
I know it just felt so sad. Like, are we just gonna work for the rest of our lives and then die? Like, is that it? Is that why we're here on this earth? I think I'm having one right now. Like,
Oh, wow. We were supposed to discover the why behind it, not induce it
in this,
in our guests. So guys,
like,
all our two viewers who are watching, please do not get an existential crisis because of us right now.
uh, so when I started working, when I joined my consulting firm, the first day on the job, I get in and there's this guy who's kind of like my senior colleague, and he's like, "So how are you feeling?" And I was like, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, excited to start a new job. So I said that I'm excited, and he's like, "What is the point? You'll continue working, you'll get married, you'll have kids, and then you'll die. So there's no point in life."
Oh
So I feel
wow,
like
straight to it, straight to the point on day one.
I feel like he was going through a major meltdown and existential crisis at that point of time. And, but now I can see where he was coming from more than what I could at that point of time.
Oh God, it's scary, I mean, it's not scary, but just seeing that everyone has such situations in life where you actually just like, what is the point? What is the point of every single thing that we're doing right now? It's scary, but it's also interesting for me because it's
Mm,
like, at what point will I feel this? And after this situation comes where I'm just questioning everything I've done or questioning what I have to do, what will I do going forward? So, I mean, for me, it's little scary but interesting as well. Saying that,
mm.
let's see when this comes, how it comes. I'm sure gonna lose it for 100% gonna lose it, but
Mm,
but yeah, it might just be fun. Let's see.
mm.
I'm not seeing a situation. I don't think. I mean, listening to your story, I don't think that guy was having any fun whatsoever. So I'm just gonna prepare myself for it.
Yeah, and the another sort of paradox of human life is that we all are working towards having a more comfortable, like a comfortable life. You work hard, get a nicer job, nicer lifestyle, and get rid of things that bother you and get rid of challenges. But when you do get to that, you get really bored and you don't like it. Like, you hear about all of these celebrities, right? Who, or people who've made it really big, and then they're overnight millionaires, and then like with the first year maybe they spend a lot of time buying that Lamborghini, buying that mansion, going on those holidays, and then after a year they're like, now what? And and then they start looking for more meaning, more purpose in life, and that's when you end up with like a Bill Gates now dedicating his life to,
Philanthropy.
yeah, philanthropy, clean water, all of that. Or you have Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn and PayPal. He's now dedicating his life towards women empowerment, investments that are led by women or focused on women. So things like that start happening as well. So that is kind of like, we want a challenge, but we want to get rid of the challenge. But then if we don't have a challenge, that is also not nice. So I feel like human life is a continual striving for something.
Yeah, that's so true the way that you put it. I am like a planner, so I make a list for everything. I also have a list for like the stuff I'm supposed to achieve in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I like tick something, it obviously takes, years to tick something off.
Yeah, yeah,
So I like tick something off and I'll be like, that's it.
yeah.
Like,
It does not,
now
yeah, it
what?
does not
Where's the
feel like,
hype?
yeah, where's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
yeah, you took something
Yeah.
off and then something else comes, and then that continual
Yeah,
thing
it's an
Yeah,
ever-growing
happens.
list of
Yeah.
ticking of
exactly.
stuff from a list. So, I mean,
Uh,
anyone knows why, but we have talked about what it is and what
mm.
we go through and how we perceive it. But any idea why we go through this entire thing? What causes us to actually start thinking of such things and then freaking out so much that it's called the existential crisis?
That's deep.
Uh, that's
I don't know. I mean, I personally feel that I don't know if, I think Anagh, you mentioned just the plethora of information that we have around us. The
mm,
internet's right now here with us, and for me personally, if I'm just scrolling through Instagram or LinkedIn and I just see people doing the absolute randomest things and they're doing so well at it and they're having, I mean, it looks as if they're having a lot of fun. And then I start questioning, like, when you see others do something that you would never have thought of, or you would not have had the guts to, do it at the point if you wanted to. And when you see such things, you always start questioning that, okay, what if I had done something, or what if I want to do something else? And then you just start questioning your path or just anything. And that's maybe the why behind how it starts. That's
yeah.
my take on it. Just seeing everyone else do different things and then you start questioning.
Yeah, and I mean, there are multiple kinds of triggers for existential crisis. So one that you mentioned is, looking at other people and getting some sort of like more of like meaning of life type of questions. The other kind of triggers that thankfully I have a few years and you guys have a few more years before that happens is the inevitability of death. Like when people hit a certain birth
Oh
date,
wow,
50,
that
55,
went deep.
60. Yeah, that's when they're like, oh, what am I left to do on this earth, and that sort of mind. And then the third kind is to do with sort of like loneliness. Like you hear of people who are surrounded by friends and family, but they still feel alone. um,
Correct, correct.
that's like the third kind in terms of existential
Yeah.
crisis.
I think it there's different types and pillars of it. One can be, as you said, the people around you, the relationships or the connections that you make with people around you, humans around you, and how you perceive that. One can be how your education, your purpose in life when it comes professionally, because I think that's a big part of most of our human lives, what we do and how we go do anything going forward. And one is, I think, what Ash mentioned, just the human race's existence in general, the entire the
Yeah.
entire
Mhm.
possibility of a vast space out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's that's what it's so much fun to see all these different
Levels of,
aspects
yeah.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel
levels of
like
it.
another trigger is like, shows like Black Mirror and stuff. Like I can never binge watch that show because in like 15 minutes into it, I'm already going through like a major existential crisis and I'm questioning everything, like all the technology that we're supposed to have in the future and how negatively that's gonna impact us. And then I have to like take a few days to like, think about all my thoughts
To
and just like be like,
declutter and
yeah,
just
like
yeah.
it's gonna be okay. Just like calm down. Like it's just a show, not it's not gonna happen. It's very like dystopian and it freaks me out.
Yeah, so that's all. So it shows you something you hadn't really thought of before. And it just shows you the
Mhm.
possibilities of things in life. And yeah, I mean, the show has freaked me out quite a few times as well. I know so many people have just not been able to finish the show, just like you said,
Mhm.
because they're just very overwhelmed by the ideas that people have about technology as such going forward. And then there are some people who love it so much that they already have started thinking of their own ideas that, hey, oh, I got inspired by this and I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, technology is like a major. Like, did you guys see the documentary on social media that came out on Netflix a few weeks ago about like
I've heard
the
of it. I have not got a chance to.
I
What's
couldn't finish it.
the
I forget the name.
what's the name of it?
I'll look it up and like let you know and put it in the show notes as well. But basically,
Mhm.
in that, like I just saw like the first 10-15 minutes and it was so overwhelming
Mhm.
for me. And like the thought of basically what it was implying and the implications of what it was so much that I couldn't take it. So basically, it was all these engineers who worked on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest,
Oh
a couple
yeah,
of other
yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
and they were basically talking about how when they were building it they did not know that it's going to become the kind of beast it has become
Mhm.
now in terms of how addictive it is and how much of a negative impact it has on the mental health even as late as like 2011 2012. Facebook did not know. They were like their whole goal was to just get people hooked, but and then it just became its own thing. There was some guy
Mhm.
at Google who once sent out a long email to all the employees saying
Mhm.
that fix this and we should do this and that, and then there was like I don't know if it was fictionalized or it was a documentary for Real Family where they were at the dining table and all the kids were on their phones and texting and I mean uh, it's become quite like a dystopian thing.
Mhm.
Things that were satirized at some point of time are becoming actual reality. I don't know.
I think it's the social experiment. Is that what
Yes,
it's
yes,
called?
yes, yes. It's called the social
Yeah,
experiment. You're right.
that blew my mind. Like I
Mm.
was after that, like after it came out, everyone like on LinkedIn is like, we deleted all our social media accounts. We don't use them anymore. And I like it was crazy. I feel like it that like really impacted a lot of people.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's for
Truly.
sure. I mean, I haven't really watched the show yet, but I've seen the impact, as you said, on different types of social
Mhm.
media. People are talking about how the show about social media affected them. It's a show or is it a
Yeah.
film? What's
It's
is it
it's
a
a documentary, I think. Is
it's a
it like a
documentary?
series
Yeah.
or?
Okay.
Mhm.
But but the irony is that people were complaining about social media on.
Correct, exactly. On social media. Like, it's quite funny to be honest. Watching people rant about how Facebook and Instagram is ruling our lives on Insta Live. Thanks, guys. Very insightful.
Very insightful.
Quite
Very.
pointless. Yeah.
Yeah. But it did subconsciously or consciously did have an impact on me in the sense that I quit all of social media and instead I started consciously setting up phone calls with friends of mine. And this was even more true like during the lockdown and stuff where you couldn't really go out. And I mean, because when you see someone on social media, it's a very curated part of their life and you only see their ups. And if you're constantly hit with one amazing news after another for like an hour, and your day is going to be maybe there'll be like 5 minutes of highlights, and then maybe the rest is most of it is like average, and then some few moments of completely low light. You start feeling that your life is quite miserable. Whereas when you talk to people on the phone one on one, you get to know about their low lights as well. So it's more realistic in terms of like the picture you paint about others around you. So that's and somehow I feel the interactions are also more authentic when you have it one on one and people talk like their problems in their life. So
Their existential
their
crises.
existential. Yes, yes,
Please.
yes.
That's very true.
Okay, so we've talked about all of these problems that come with existential crises, all of these triggers, but then how do we resolve them? Like, what are some actionable things that one can do to kind of get rid themselves or reduce the existential crisis that they? Any thoughts?
Um, if it is me, and if I'm seeing myself walking through the peril of existential crisis, the first thing I will do is probably stop looking at others.
Hmm. So,
Stop focusing on what others are doing and what the 100 million billion options available to you in life, and probably just try to refocus on myself. try to understand why I am doing what I'm doing and not why I'm not doing what others are doing. I mean, there's a very thin line between this, but trying to find my own purpose versus getting swayed by everyone else's journey or path. I think
Yeah.
that's what I would do when it comes to people, when it comes to the connections and the relationship, and when it comes to how did I reach here and what is the purpose of all of this that I'm doing. There's not really anything you can do but just think of what is your goal. Stop worrying about I tell this to myself, stop worrying about something that you don't have any idea about. Like, it's a very vague worry, according to me. You're just worrying about life, and that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. If you have a goal, if you have something that you want to worry about, then great, please go ahead, worry about it. But then
Yeah.
don't worry about something that you really don't know. So yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself. I don't know, guys, please do not take my advice solely. This is all based on personal experiences. So yeah, what about you guys?
What about you, Ash? The next.
I would say that I feel like everything comes down to like why are we even like living this life or whatever, and everyone's just gonna die in the end. Well, obviously, like, everyone is gonna die in the end. So it's not really about that end. It's more so about your entire journey and how you live it, and what you accomplish, and all the things that you do in your like life that are meaningful. So I think if you focus on that, it would really help.
Very well said, Ash. There's a whole article, but the crux of that is, like, it can be summarized in a statement by Tim Urban called "Your life is a picture, but you live in a pixel." And basically, what that means is that we spend all our life thinking about like the big things, or we've done like this course or this job, or we're getting married to this person, we're having kids or this or that. We're always planning things and looking at like what our image is, but that's not where we're living. Like, our life is not the experience of life that we go through, is not the MBA course that you go through or the job title that you have. It's your everyday, day-to-day life when you wake up in the morning, when you talk to like your family members. So you should learn to enjoy and value like your everyday life instead of living in the tomorrow. And I mean, I need to keep reminding myself that, so I put that as like my phone wallpaper so that I see it.
Nice. Yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
we can
that's
put this quote on our show notes just to remind
yeah,
everyone that,
yeah,
hey guys, this is something that everyone goes through. This is
yeah.
legitimately what it is. So yeah.
True, true. So should we recap everything we've discussed?
Yes, let's summarize been about. Like,
Okay.
please go ahead. You are the one who has the best memory.
Okay, so we started with Ash talking about how when she looks at space and she looks at the ever-growing universe and all the aliens, and when she watches Star Wars and she sees all the alien species, she realizes that we're very, very insignificant and we're just a speck in the universe. So that is like at the highest level of feeling insignificant. And then we talked about triggers, such as when you have that dark night of your soul, or some fancy phrase like that, where basically once you get done with the minutia of life of, okay, going to school, studying, getting a job, like my coworker who I met on the first day of my job, he was like, what's the point of life? You just get married, have kids, and die. So that's when you start thinking about a greater purpose, a greater meaning. And then we talked about other triggers, feeling of loneliness even when you're surrounded by people, um, and or if you get like a certain age and you're about to die, so that like the inevitability of death. And then we talked about how social media and technology is like really, really harmful. You look at other people and you get this existential. And then one of you can please summarize the things we discussed to kind of get rid of it.
Ash, you want to go forward?
Okay, so the stuff that we took away from this was basically, as Akshita mentioned, you're gonna see all these people on social media talk about how amazing their lives are, but that can be a little toxic. So you might want to focus on yourself and what you're doing instead of looking at how that 10 or 5% amazing life that someone's living and putting up on their social media. Like, you don't want to be comparing your entire life with that 5% of someone else's life. And we also spoke about how, the end goal of life is basically death. sort of. But that's not what you should focus on. You really want to focus on your journey and how you live it, and how you impact other people, and what kind of impact other people have on you, and just stuff like that.
Yeah, I think nicely summarized. I think is this entire fact about the journey of life and not just thinking about the end goal, which end goal might be the wrong word to talk about death, but yeah, the
Yeah.
end, inevitable
The end,
end.
just the
Yeah. So
not not
yeah,
even
I
not
yeah.
even I think not even death, but like, we live our lives one professional goal at a time, or even society expects us to kind of live. So like, first they'll be like, oh, what school is your kid in, then what marks did he get, then what university did he go to, then when is he getting married, and then when you're going to have kids, and then all of that. So instead of just trying to fill the checklist of life, you
Mhm.
should focus on kind of just enjoying the day and taking it one day at a time. Okay, so I think that kind of wraps up our discussion. So now it's time to move on to the next or ending segment, which is a funny or insightful incident of the week. And this time, Akshita, you go first because I can't think of anything right now.
I like how you always put me in the spot, Anand. A funny
uh,
incident in this week. Um, I'm not sure about funny because very sadly, just staying at home this week hasn't really opened any new fun, like, interesting doors for me this week. But yeah, insightful thing I would say is
okay, Ash, would you like to go first while Akshita thinks of something?
Okay. I don't think this is insightful, but it's just something that I noticed.
Hmm.
So for the past 4 days, I was in Dubai,
Hmm.
and before that, I was basically just in my little bubble
Hmm.
where I wouldn't leave the house. Even if I did, I wouldn't touch anything. If I touched something, I would have to immediately sanitize my hands like every 5 seconds.
Hmm.
So I was in this sort of like very scared of COVID kind of mindset, and then I reached Dubai, and the only difference is that people are wearing masks.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's like normal Dubai. Like there's just as many crowds. Everyone's like touching everything, and like what I noticed was that if you go into such a place with that mindset of being scared, you're just gonna have like a mental breakdown and just like sit in a corner and cry, because it is impossible. It is quite frankly impossible to like be scared of COVID and then be in a place where people are just surrounding you from all sides and you can't even escape it. But yeah, so
True.
nice.
now that
So
I'm
I
back, I'm
think
not as scared.
this reminds me of a conversation I actually recently had with a friend of how the effects of this entire COVID and lockdown and quarantining and this constant need of staying sanitized and clean is going to affect us as humans, and how OCD is a thing, and how this could have eventually or might have eventually increased the number of cases of such compulsive behavior in people because of this psychological feeling that okay, we need to keep sanitizing or we need to keep washing. And as you said, it gets really difficult for such people because now the world is going back to normal, but it's been a year that these habits have been instilled and we've been following these habits every single day, and some people might not be able to come out of it as soon and as quickly as the others do, and they might have a very big problem. As you said, they might just go to a mall and then get freaked out by the fact that nobody really cares anymore, while in their head they're sanitizing and they are just freaking out about the germs, about COVID, corona, everything. So yeah, I think that's one insightful conversation I had this week where we just discussed that how it has affected human psychology. Even the fact where we meet people and people are not scared of saying I'm sorry, I won't shake your hand anymore. People just directly say it outright, and this was never a thing before. So yeah, it's interesting how things have changed, like social lives have very differently changed now.
That is very true. So like when the MERN virus happened in the early 2000s in the Asian countries, people started wearing masks there, and now that's sort of become a cultural thing where now if you see Asians I mean, now because of COVID, literally masks have become sort of like mainstream. But like in 2016, in my grad school, there were all these people from Asian countries, from Taiwan, China. The day they would catch a cold, the next day they'd show up wearing a mask. And that was kind of the after effects of what had happened to them as a collective society when the Mun virus happened. And I feel that's going to be the case going forward. Like even when the whole world gets vaccinated, there's going to be some segment of the population that's going to continue to wear masks. In general, our sense of like hygiene and sanitation would be at an all-time high. And things like I mean, the way we interact with things are going to change as well from like a commercial standpoint. For example, there was a startup in Canada that they basically do is they put up like iPads behind on the back seat of cars where you can interact with the iPad, watch stuff and buy stuff, things like that. And now they've done a complete pivot because going forward, people would like to avoid touching random public surfaces as much as possible.
Correct.
So that's going to be like a landmark shift for sure.
And also, I don't know if you guys have noticed how in India, at least, the concept of Uber Pool and Ola Share was so big, and it was honestly one of the main ways of commuting in most of the major cities. And now that concept is just scrapped. I mean, there's no more Ola Share or Uber, the Uber Pool at all, because well, they can't. There's so many regulations and you just can't risk it. So yeah, so many new ideas that had come up, as you said, this and iPad and how you can interact with it. Nobody's going to do that going forward. So it's quite a lot of changes. Let's see how it pans out. Things come back, if things just permanently stay away.
I mean, on the other hand, I feel like things will come back because for the past 5 or 6 months, I haven't stepped out of my house. And yesterday, I had to take my grandfather to the hospital, and I went with him. And it was like I completely forgot that I had not been out of the house for 5 or 6 months. It was like I've been going out every day. So that way, it might also be very easy to transition. But I don't know. We'll see.
We shall.
Okay, so should we wrap up then?
Yes.
So you want to say the thank you for listening, blah 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 blah.
Please, guys. Thanks to all our. Hopefully, by this time we should have more than 2 viewers. Another.
We'll have three. We'll
two
have
listeners.
3.
Sorry, I don't know why I always say viewers. I need to remind myself that this is not a video thing. This is a podcast, and guys, listen. No viewers. So yes, now we have 3.
Yeah, because Ash is going to listen to it as well, right? So
yes, I am.
3 listeners, and just assuming we all just forward it on our family groups and our parents just want to listen to it. Yeah. So thank you all for listening, everybody. And thanks, Ash, for joining for
thank you
this
for
session,
having me.
Yeah.
It was our honor to have you.
I loved it.
Okay, and you can follow us on our Instagram account called the Y Coordinate, basically because that's where we can post the show notes. That's where we'll post. And again, thank you once again to Ash for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Okay. Now, Ash, how was your experience being on this podcast?
This was really fun. So I listened to like a few podcasts. So this was really fun, like being part of one. Great, love it. So fun.
What is like your favorite podcast?
I know. She mentioned Planet. That was one.
Right? Yeah. So I used to listen to Planet Money. I haven't been listening to podcasts recently, but I used to listen to Planet Money, NPR, right? That's what it's called, I think. And then I'm obsessed with this YouTuber called David Dobrik. Literally obsessed. Oh my god, I listen to his podcasts because like he's not making videos anymore, so that's the only place I can catch him.
Why
he stopped because it's when COVID started. He stopped because he wasn't able to like make the kind of content. Yeah, like he couldn't make that same kind of content.
But so wasn't he still active on TikTok though?
Yeah. So he was active on TikTok. Whatever he was posting on TikTok was also coming on like Insta YouTube stories.
Yeah.
Okay. And then YouTube was like dead silent. I think he came up with like 2 videos. But those were like special edition sort of videos, like COVID related, helping other people sort of videos. So that, and then I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's called Call Her Daddy. It's by Barstool. Oh yeah, way far. It's just like Yeah, it's by Barstool. So great. It's very funny. So if I have too much time to kill, I'll just like listen to one.
Nice. You can probably listen to us also now that you have.
Yes, I will. I will. Religiously, I will.
Good marketing, Anagh.
Dude, we need to see now. We've increased our number of subscribers by 50%. That's how you're talking.
I love it. I love these numbers.
I can, if I put this as a resume bullet point, I'll say increased
I
number of
swear.
subscribers for podcast by 50% in one day.
I also told Akshita, I was like, I can't wait to put guest speaker on the Y coordinate, like on my resume.
Nice.
Always have to milk these situations. Always.
I
Yeah,
swear.
for sure.
Just make
For
it
sure.
best.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to stop recording now.